All right, here we go. Chef Jasmine grew up in Baltimore and discovered her love for oysters at the tender age of 7. In 2017, Jasmine opened the first female Black-owned oyster bar in the United States, the Urban Oyster. Her love for adventure and passion for food sparked the creation of her first restaurant concept. Jasmine delights in introducing oysters to friends, family, and peers who were apprehensive about the texture of raw seafood, specifically oysters. Jasmine's love of community and food inspires each concept that she creates. She has won numerous awards and accolades, which I encourage you to read her whole bio on our website. But y'all, can you please help me welcome James Beard-nominated Chef Jasmine to the stage?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is nerve-wracking, I'll be honest. But I am so grateful that you all found it worthy of me to wake up so early. I forgot my shot of Bailey's for my coffee this morning, so we're just going to go with it and see what comes out of this. Here we go. It is such an honor to stand here today and share my story, a journey that has been nothing short of transformative, challenging, and deeply rewarding. When we think about the word journey, it's defined as an act of traveling from one place to another. For me, this definition doesn't just signify physical movement, it represents the transitions, challenges, and growth I've experienced while pursuing my dreams. My journey to founding the Urban Oyster has been a series of leaps, turbulence, and eventual triumphs, each step bringing me closer to a brighter destination. But a journey is so much more than a physical voyage. It's a series of experiences, setbacks, triumphs, and growth. And my journey to becoming the founder and executive chef of the Urban Oyster has truly embodied all of these elements. Let me take you back to 2017. At the time, I was living in New York City and working a demanding corporate job that required long hours, high stakes, decision-making, and constant mental focus. The pressure was intense, and balancing the workload with my declining health made it even more overwhelming. On the surface, everything seemed fine, but beneath that facade, my body was waging a battle I couldn't ignore. I discovered that I had a large uterine fibroid, a benign tumor that was wreaking havoc on my health. By January of 2017, the fibroid, about the size of a grapefruit, was draining me both physically and emotionally. I was severely anemic, constantly fatigued, and could only muster the strength to work 5 days from January to March. The turning point came on March 1st, 2017, when I underwent a myomectomy to remove the fibroid. It was a necessary step to reclaim my health and my future. But recovery wasn't just about healing physically, it was about finding clarity and reigniting my purpose. While I was on bed rest, I came across a book that would change my life, Jump by Steve Harvey. That's a good book, right? In the book, Steve discusses the courage it takes to leap into the unknown, emphasizing that while the leap may be frightening and uncertain, it is the only way to unlock your true potential. This message deeply resonated with me and gave me the clarity and determination to pursue my dreams with everything I had. In it, Steve talks about the courage it takes to leap into the unknown, to trust yourself, even when you can't see the landing. Those words lit a fire in me. As I lay there recovering, I knew that my leap, my jump, would be the Urban Oyster. But as many of you know, starting a business doesn't wait for the perfect moment. Even during my recovery, I was restless to create. I began asking my parents to cook the recipes I had envisioned, and once the dishes were prepared, I would literally, and I mean literally, slide down the steps because I was not supposed to go down steps. My doctor, I was not supposed to really even walk. So I would slide. That wasn't walking, right? It wasn't walking, I was sliding. Down the steps of our home to take photos of the finished products. Those pictures became the first post on Instagram, my way of sharing my vision and planting the seeds for what was to come. After being cleared from recovery, I debuted the Urban Oyster by hosting my very first chef takeover at a small breakfast bistro in Towson, Maryland. Now, I didn't include the name of this because it was kind of a weird name. If anybody remembers Truffle Butter Bistro, that was where it was, but I was, yeah. Anyway. Oh, nothing, Mario. We all love truffle here. Anyway. Friends, family, and even strangers came out to pack the place. From there, we started participating in farmers markets like the Fells Point Farmers Market and the Baltimore Farmers Market under 83, as well as festivals such as Artscape, Airframe, and the Fells Point Fun Festival. These events gave us visibility and connected us with the vibrant Baltimore community. Our journey eventually brought us here, to our house. After numerous inquiries and tastings, we conducted 7 pop-ups here. The 7th pop-up introduced what we know as our sister concept, the Urban Burger Bar. I credit a great deal of my success to our house, as the platform exposed us to a strong following and provided invaluable experience in running a restaurant of that caliber. After nearly 3 years, we opened our first brick and mortar location in the Locust Point neighborhood in April of 2019. While it was an incredible milestone, the lack of foot traffic made it challenging during that time. I was given the opportunity of a lifetime to compete on Guys Grocery Games. Then in March 2020, the pandemic surfaced. During this time, I went through a bout of depression, struggling with the uncertainty of what was next, but I had to remind myself that the Urban Oyster originated without the constructs of 4 walls. I was losing a building, not the business. This realization helped me push forward with renewed determination. What seemed like a disaster turned into a blessing in disguise, as it allowed us to move on from what could have been the hardest 4 years of my life, trying to keep a business afloat in a low-traffic area. In August 2020, we closed that location in joint partnership with the Hyatt brand of hotels. At the Hyatt Regency and Hotel Revival, we offered curbside, delivery, and room service to guests. We are forever grateful to Hyatt for allowing us to operate rent-free for over a year, which kept us afloat during uncertain times. I credit the strength of my network and the people who truly want to see us succeed, those who regard the Urban Oyster as a pillar of the city, as the reason we have persevered through some of the toughest storms, one that unfortunately even some veteran businesses and restaurants could not survive. It is crucial to have a strong tribe of genuine individuals to surround you when in pursuit of your dreams. In December 2020, we came across an opportunity at Whitehall Market. Shout out to my friends from Whitehall, Joey and Brittany. We lived through that together, so I love you guys for that. In December 2020, we came across an opportunity at Whitehall Market where we finally established a landing pad for the Urban Burger Bar. We operated the stall for nearly 2 years and had an incredible experience, including collaborating with Guinness on a beer called Urban Tiki and featuring the Urban Burger Bar on the cooking channel's Food Paradise. I also competed on Chopped while running the burger bar. Meanwhile, my broker initially tried to draw my interest to the Harbor Point area, but I knew the Urban Oyster belonged in a community-focused area rather than a business-centric district. That's when he mentioned an off-market listing in Hamden. As an avid visitor of Hamden's restaurants, festivals, and shops, I knew that this was the perfect fit. By March 2022, I was signing the lease for the Urban Oyster in Hamden. And after much anticipation, we finally opened in February 2024. I love y'all. During the wait, I reconnected with my passion for broadcasting and created a docuseries called Black Appetit, which highlights Black chefs and businesses in the industry. I plan to share this on YouTube soon. I also had the honor of cooking for the James Beard Foundation during an event hosted by Visit Baltimore. What seemed like a lifetime to rebirth turned out to be life-changing and so worth the wait. Now, as we approach our 8th anniversary, which is on Sunday, so if you guys have some time, come and visit us, show some love. We have actually another beer that we collaborated with Checker Spot with called Urban Rattler. So if you've ever had like our pineapple ginger lemonade, it has notes of that in the beer. So come get a beer, come show some love, whatever, if you have time. I reflect on how far we've come. In just under a year at our new location, we've been featured on CBS Mornings with Nate Burleson, cooked in various states, and received a nomination for Best New Restaurant by Baltimore Magazine for 2024. The biggest shock of my life came when I was nominated for Best Chef Mid-Atlantic by the James Beard Foundation. An honor akin to the Oscars or Grammys of the food industry. I am still on cloud 9. In the pursuit of a journey, nothing happens by mistake. Rather, every challenge is a step preparing you for bigger journeys in the future. In journeys, much like a flight to vacation, there are moments of fear and turbulence. But you keep going because you know you're headed toward a destination filled with sunshine and warm weather. Thank you for allowing me to share mine. Here's to embracing the journey and to all the leaps we have yet to take.
Thank you. Now we have some time for some Q&A. Y'all, we got some audience mics now. So Sabina and April have some microphones ready to run them to you. I think I see a hand right here. April.
Hello.
Good morning.
I was just curious, what drew you to oysters of all foods? It's kind of, off the beaten path for a lot of people. So did you grow up eating oysters, or like what is your history with oysters specifically?
Absolutely. So yes, my dad is the most adventurous person in the world, and I'm very much a daddy's girl. And I've been eating oysters since I was 7. And in my earlier years of experiencing oysters or, partaking in them was honestly always in the house. My dad would come and he would go to the local grocery store, shuck them, and we would eat them over the sink. But furthermore, as a culture, as African Americans, we have a long-standing history in oysters and harvesting and growing them and oystermen and things like that. But for some reason, we seem to be less present in enjoying them, right? And having a seat at the table. And I just wanted to shine a light on that. And, I wanted what I created in the food space to be educational, not only nourishing.
Peace.
Hello there.
I love your brand aesthetic, like how you come across on your website, on socials, just the whole energy of the thing. How important is that to food to you? Or do you go to those things like together? Is that something that you reach outward for? Is the vision all, from you as well?
No, I'd be remiss to say that, I don't have, again, a tribe or, a good support system of people. I also did study undergrad in public relations, so I do have a little bit of understanding of brand identity and continuity and all that stuff. But, if I had to decide between representing my brand and someone else's, I always try to make sure that there is some relativity in it. But it's important to us, right? When we went from Locust Point to this new location, we wanted to show rebirth, growth, and maturity in every facet of it. We rebranded the logo. We toned down the blues. All those sort of things. We went from fast casual to, a full service dining establishment. And so, like I said, it's been over 3 years that we were in this holding pattern from our first location. So it was important that we got everything right and that everything was thoughtful and, just the small details. If anybody's been to our new location, even our checkbooks, thank you. Our checkbooks have our logo, our new menu books have our logo. All of the special touches and attention to detail we had a lot of time to figure it out.
There's a question in the back.
Hi. First, thank you so much for being here and sharing. You said that you went through kind of a rough spot in life and it kind of affected your business. How do you pull yourself out of those rough spots and get back into the mindset of growth and creativity and being there for the community?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, I'm not super religious, but I am definitely spiritual. And, I try to make sure that I'm grounded in my faith, and put God in everything. And I'm not ashamed to, to share that and say that, I pray every single morning. And I believe that I'm serving in the purpose of that. And there are times like this, or the James Beard nomination and things like that, that reassures me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So honestly, I have amazing parents also who speak life into me, and amazing friends and all that stuff who speak life into me. So honestly, that's what keeps me going.
Hey, Chef. I'm fangirling out.
Hey, Chef.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I wanted to know what investment you felt like had the biggest return: marketing, staff, equipment, self-work. What investment did you see the biggest return on?
I would say my staff, honestly. Those are the people who keep the boat moving, right? And so when you invest in those people who help you to push your dream forward, it's almost effortless, right? And, those are the representatives when you break your ankle or, when you, whatever it is, you may have to, those are the people who, honestly, we wouldn't be able to do businesses, especially at the caliber, that I am now at. I have 27 employees, and it's no way I would be able to do any of this stuff without them. So my greatest investment is my staff. We have family meal every single day of service. We feed them, we come together, we have pre-shift, all of that stuff. We have incentive programs and all of that stuff. And so I would say that's my biggest investment.
Over on this side.
Hi. I want to say, first of all, that I love the investment, the way you were talking about staff and family meal. I've worked in the restaurant industry, and family meal is going away, and it's sad, and it shouldn't be. But anyway, I also love that you always say we when talking about the business and everything related to it. And can you talk about who we is and a little bit more about it and the process of building a team?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because someone a long time ago tried to correct me and say, no, you did this and you did that. And it's well, if I did it by myself, I certainly wouldn't be as far along as I, have made it. But I say we because, even, coming here or starting at the Fells Point markets and things like that, literally my family was my employees, right? My little cousins, my aunt, my uncle. My aunt has MS, and she was still out there doing the things, right? And so it's always been we, right? I moved from New York because I needed we. because I didn't have any family in New York and things like that. I was working in AV as a sales manager and a director of operations. And when I decided that I had had enough and just lost fulfillment, in all aspect of that realm or that business, I knew I had to come home because I needed my we. So none of this is possible. My mom still works at the restaurant and still comes every day. So if anybody has had those collards, that's mom. But no, I say we because yes, I do not do this alone.
Over on April's side.
Hello there. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. You did an amazing job. Thanks for sharing all that you did. So there's been a lot going on social media about what months are actually okay to eat oysters. Please, for the love of God, help us all out.
I love that. So that is an ancient myth. First and foremost, for all those who are a lot, seasoned than us, probably still follow that rule. But if you know about aquaculture, right, and farm raising and things like that, those things exist for sustainability. They exist for, a more healthy experience in oyster consumption. And so for that reason, in farm raised oysters and things like that, it's not really the case anymore. So, yes. No ER is necessary to have oysters.
Over to back with Sabina.
Hi, thank you so much. When I first moved, I moved here in 2019. I got to go to the Locust Point concept, and then I lived near Whitehall. So I've gotten to go to all your restaurants. I feel very special to get to meet you. I live in Hampton and walk the Avenue every day. And one thing I want to thank you so much for is just helping to diversify the Avenue, the experience. There's something really special about being a Black person, seeing beautifully dressed, happy Black people coming in and out of your restaurant. It means a lot to me to get to see that almost every day. I just wanted to ask you, when you design the space and when you, especially the Avenue being what it is, who and what do you want people to, what do you want people to feel when they come into your space, and how do you cultivate that for the people who come to your restaurants?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great question. Again, we had 18 months to create a well thought out, restaurant. In short, I'll say we call it cozy coastal. And so the idea was for it to be and feel like a townhome, right? We took a lot of feedback from that year and some change that we were in the Locust Point location, and to the best of our ability, with a really weird distributed space layout, we had to have these high seating and counter height stools and things like that to kind of maximize the seating. And so it was really important to me that it was comfortable, right? There was somewhere you wanted to stay for a long time, and now people stay for a really long time. But I love it, someone told me last week, there's this zen that they feel when they come in, right? And, that is curated by so many reasons. The calmness of the hue of blue that we use, the seating, the playlist, everything, is intentional to evoke a feeling. And so when people leave, we want them to feel at home, or when they come rather, we want them to feel at home. We want them to feel relaxed. Whatever they came from outside with, they can just put it on pause for a minute and just enjoy themselves. And I think we are accomplishing that for the most part.
Over in the wall over there.
Hi, good morning, Chef. I'm curious to ask, through your 10 years of really doing this, right? And through all the experiences that you've touched on this with other questions. How has your sense of what is sacred to you, how has that changed over this journey? And if it has, I'm curious also to hear, how do you bring that to other spaces beyond just your restaurants? Would love to hear any thoughts.
Yeah, so I have, if I'm feel like I'm understanding your question, I would say yes. My definition of sacred has definitely changed. I would also say, from a business perspective, I would say it's sacred to me that I never allow, my why or like my intentions to change, right? A lot of times, like, I don't read reviews, right? And I know we have good ones, we have not so good ones. I don't read reviews because then I get in my head about that because I am naturally a people pleaser. Like, I want everyone to feel good. I want everyone to be happy about what it is that I'm doing. But I'm also human, and so are my staff. And I don't always, hit it on the dot, right? So I have like someone else to read the reviews and kind of extract the things that are obviously things that we need to improve on or change or whatever. On a personal level, sacred is boundaries, right? And I still struggle with my boundaries because, at times I am on the front line and on the line actually in the kitchen with my staff, and there is this misconception often because I guess I'm relatable that we are peers. So some of them will like text me at midnight like, yeah, I forgot to tell you this. And I'm like, no, block. So, and I'm dead ass serious. Like, you can ask anybody, like I'm blocking. And I've also discovered slow mornings. So I use my do not disturb from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. And I had to create those boundaries because it is so easy for the restaurant industry in particular to just suck you in and take over your entire life. I also have a therapist, which I highly recommend for anyone in this industry or period, because I don't even know.
I know. I don't know what happened here, y'all. Sorry. Got a question over here.
Good morning. So I wanted to know what's next for the Urban Oyster. Like, I know you have the restaurant and things of that nature. When people open restaurants, sometimes they do specialty nights, sometimes they close for private events, or just what is ever that we may not know that is next for the Urban Oyster.
Yeah, absolutely. My wheels are always turning, right? Like once I feel that I'm like 90% at whatever goal I've already achieved, I'm kind of, usually moving to something else. We already, yes, offer catering and things like that. We also still do the farmers markets and things like that. Those are our roots, right? And I personally enjoy those settings a lot, right? Being outside and connecting with people. As far as the Urban Oyster, we are right now in talks and working with an oyster farmer to carry our own private label of oysters called Ice Aprons. So we have that in the works. But for my personal growth and, obviously it would be to benefit for the Urban Oyster, I am planning very hard as far as having my team in a good place to study abroad in Paris in September, so.
We got another question over here.
Hi. You mentioned your experience with health in 2017, and I was curious, where do you feel like intuition and alignment with what you're supposed to or feel like you're called to do plays in health? I know it's kind of like a broad question, but I guess from your own personal experience, because I've gone through a similar one, and so I'm just curious, like when you're bringing your dreams in fruition, do you feel like lighter?
Absolutely. I love that question because, I lived in New York for like 8 months. It was immediately uncomfortable. Like immediately, like I was like living in one place. I went from like Jersey City, then I moved to Bed-Stuy, and the train didn't come as much as it did in Jersey City. And like, I was late to work every single day. Like, it was just immediately uncomfortable. And then I lived with a friend I went to high school with, and I couldn't even really get settled, like, because her plan was to bring her daughter to Brooklyn, in a few short months. So I literally like slept on an air mattress and like went to work and all that stuff because it made no sense to bring any real furniture. And then I started getting this pain in my stomach. I honestly thought I had like a urinary tract infection because I kept using the restroom a lot and things like that. And I just had this abdominal pain, and I was just like, I don't understand what's going on. And I went to my doctor, who is no longer my doctor, because she was like, I think it's because you have asthma and you're like coughing a lot and it's like constricting. And I was just like, I've had asthma since I was 19. Like, I've never experienced like this ever. And I went to the ER and I was in there for so long, I woke up and I overheard the doctor saying like, yeah, this is the size of a 20-week uterus. And I was like, he's talking about me. And I feel like being in the ER, like, in a sense, my life flashed before my eyes. And it wasn't necessarily like a fatal thing, but it was like I was already experiencing these pockets of discomfort. And once I heard that, like everything started going crazy, right? Like I was losing blood, I was getting blood transfusions, I was going to a cancer center to get iron infusions because I was losing so much blood that I was like, my body was breaking down. And so I had to build, my doctor had to build my body up so that I could just have surgery. And so those things were like, look, what do you have to lose at this point, right? You know, like if you don't do it now, like, you know what I mean? When is the right time, right? Like why not, right? Because I just felt like I am like going through the ringers, right? And I am just, again, my life flashed before my eyes and I felt like it was, like you said, the intuition telling me like, it's time. Everything about your situation is uncomfortable. What would it hurt to try something different and bet on yourself and do these things? So it was the most uncomfortable experience. And once I had that surgery and I came out of recovery, like I went in and went for it hard. I was like not even supposed to be outside, and I was like, I think I saw Chef Cat here going to like chef meetups and stuff like that. And I was not even supposed to be outside. But I was determined. So yes, I think my intuition came from like all of those experiences, like being in the ER, getting an iron infusion, being in a cancer, center with other people. And I'm just like, what is going on? And sometimes I'm one of those people that take I learned the hard way. And so sometimes I need like intuition to like punch me in the face.
We're gonna have our last question over here.
Hi, good morning. My name is Mahogany. I have a brother who started his own business. He's a black farmer in Sacramento, and he's kind of where you started, right? He's in some farmers markets, and recently his sprouts are now being served in some restaurants, but he's still early days. And you never mentioned business school. Some of the most successful people that I know, especially in restaurants, never went to business school. So if my brother were here, I know he'd ask, like, what are some resources or, tips that you have for people starting businesses? Like, where did you get the intuition that you're talking about and the, knowledge to run a business?
Honestly, I will say that in my 7 years of working in the event production and audiovisual space, in my short time of being a sales manager, I came across managing P&Ls, managing budgets, all of those sort of things. We kind of operated them in different hotels like they were small businesses. But I also, came from a family of entrepreneurs. But what I would tell your brother if he was here is build your board of advisors, right? Like, in all honesty, like, when it comes to Black businesses, we can always have a great product, right? Like, we are the most talented people in the world, but when it comes to being in compliance and having things in line, we are not so great at that. So I would tell your brother to build his board of advisors, have his accountant, have his bookkeeper, have all of the people that he needs in place to make sure his business is, secure in an administrative way.
So I actually want to ask one more question, if it's okay with everyone. I'm going to ask it anyway. Chef Jasmine, when we were talking about your talk, so a little like behind the curtain, Mario and I have a couple meetings with the speakers ahead of the event that you see today. One of the things that you brought up is kind of, and I know it's kind of been threaded through a lot of your responses in the Q&A so far, is this thread of like creativity and community and like that sense of like that's the glue that kind of holds us all together. So I'd love for you to reflect a little bit on that.
Yeah, so what I was telling Kira and Mario, like particularly Creative Mornings, I feel like all of us, we have our day-to-day and we kind of find ourselves in kind of like a bubble, right? We're just kind of like, hamsters on a wheel and we're just going and trying to get it taken care of and trying to get it done. And then like things happen good or bad and we're like, is this a me thing? Like, do I really suck? Like, So being in spaces like this, you get to kind of like exchange, and realize like that you aren't the only one, that other people are experiencing things, similarly to you, or things like this, like, what do you need help with, right? Because honestly, like, a lot of people, and I was like that in the beginning, like, a lot of people don't realize, like, they are silent, and you could be sitting next to your answer. You can be sitting next to your blessing. You can be sitting next to whatever that relief is that you need. And so I love the idea of Creative Mornings because I love how early it is. I believe in setting intentions, and I love how early it is, even though it was rough this morning. I love how early it is that you get to like set the intent of your day being in here amongst these people, and you get to walk out and make a friend, express what you need help with, and then, it sets the tone, for the rest of your day. So I appreciate Creative Mornings for that. I got a chance to go and see my designer, Tiffany Reedy, one day, and I was just like feeling, so inspired and so great. So I love the way the connectivity is created, organically here.
Creative Mornings, help me thank Chef Jasmine.